Hello all, this is Rick Williams with a short video, hopefully short video for you on Ancestry.com techniques. Not everybody uses Ancestry in the same way. They're interested in different information, and um, uh, the concept of building a tree means different things to different people. Um, I'm building a common tree. You can build as many different trees as you like, but I'm building a common one for my paternal and maternal side. And I think if I were to advise you about how to go about working with ancestry, is that you set goals and standards as what kind of information am I going to collect? Uh, how am I going to store my values? In other words, when I create a date or a location, exactly what format am I going to use to save that, and then try to be really consistent, because I've spent a lot of time over the years um, in because of not understanding what the final result was going to look like. I kind of changed the way I managed my data, and then I had to go back and clean up and clean up and clean up, and I'm still cleaning up today. But today I'm going to show you a little bit about my technique as far as dealing with adding new people to my tree. There's two reasons I add people to my tree. One is to add context for my family members. I'll add in-laws and half cousins and half uncles and things like that if it suits my purpose of tracking my bloodlines back to as far back as I can go. So when I say context, I mean it helps answer questions later on. So I try not to add a ton of people to my tree, only those people that it matters in terms of context. I kind of made a rule here lately that I'm going to try not to put any uh, more distant relatives than first cousins in, and the reasons for that. I guess maybe instead of talking, I'll just show you what I do. I focus on DNA, and as you can see here, I'm logged on to Ancestry, and I go out to the DNA Insight sites selection off the main screen, and of course I've sent my DNA in. It's been analyzed, and the wonderful thing about Ancestry is it maintains all the other ancestry people who followed the same footsteps I have in getting their DNA, sending it in, and then also submitting their trees, their family trees, so that we can map. If we're cousins, we can map our two different trees together, and help correct each other and come up with more accurate information, which is in the end what my goal is. Um, so as you can see here, when I go to my DNA section of Ancestry, uh, it's going to tell my story, and it's going to tell me what my ethnicity estimate is. And there's lots of information that you can glean from here, and that will help you determine um, what's accurate, what information is accurate. Because let's face it, when we're looking at any information, we have to determine whether it's accurate, whether it has the context you're looking for, like I talked about, and whether or not it's within the scope that you've defined that you want to capture. And again, I've talked about what my personal preferences are. First cousins only, and I want to go back 9 generations, well, 9 great grandparents, and I hold to the paternal side because that's where the names are generated, and certainly I'm going to add maternal information when it provides context, but I'm interested in the paternal names and ancestry of my families. So that's what you'll see if you look at my data. That's what you'll see that I hold to, things that I hold to. Now, a way to look at your DNA relative to your tree and everybody else's tree is something called through lines. And I'll do another video on through lines, and I'll do another video on the DNA story to give you a feel for what's there. Um, they're more of the information you'll come up with to publish your stories. And that's my main goal is I want to publish stories about my families and how they came to this country and all the families that were involved, what their names were, what the years and dates were, all the way down to me. And that's my goal. That's to tell stories. But and before you go off telling a story, you got to make sure your date is correct, because how many times have I told a story myself and then I work with the DNA and I find out that, well, that person, that's a great story. It might be true for that person, but it's not me. It's not true. I can think of one famous story. It is very common across everybody's family, and that's the Indian blood. Well, you're a 32nd Cherokee, and I grew up believing that. And with DNA and the data that's in Ancestry has pretty much proven to me that I don't have any Cherokee blood, and that's a story I don't tell anymore. Not that there's not some, not that it's quaint or there might be some fidelity to it. It's just I don't have any proof, and so it's not one of the stories I want to tell. Okay, so the topic of the day is DNA matches. What does this mean? Well, if you look at the center part of the screen here, you'll see that these are real pictures of real people who, like me, have collected their DNA and have sent it into Ancestry, and it's been analyzed. And these people, according to Ancestry, are related to me. Scientifically, no doubt about it. You can take that to the bank. Uh, there's they're the odds of these people not being related to me are in the billions. So I can take it to the bank. Now, the information that they posted in Ancestry may not agree with mine, and I may be right, they may be right, we may both be right. But the thing I'm doing right now is going through the DNA matches and helping that information resolve my family tree and correct it. So that's my goal. And Ancestry makes it pretty easy because I can come in here and click this button and take a, a good look at my DNA matches. And as you can see here, it tells me which matches come from the maternal side, my mother, Williams-Doubledee, and which comes from the paternal side, my father, Loyal Williams. And as you can see here, I've got quite a few more matches that are classified on the paternal side than are classified on the maternal side. Now, how does Ancestry categorize these things? Well, again, uh, the DNA that these people have sent in have certain markers that 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 tell me flat out that this person here is a relative of mine, maybe a third cousin, let's say. Those markers match back to certain people, and those certain people come from these families: the George family, the Doubledee, the Finneys, and the Cooks. The tree information that we put together makes that more clear. But again, the place to start is DNA and not necessarily a list of names that this particular person may have published that they think are related to us. Same thing on the paternal side. Now, Ancestry can't uh, associate all DNA matches to either my father or my mother, and the rest of these, and there's only a few, fall into here. Now, I can, as you can see by the buttons, I can go in here and take a look at the exact matches, which is basically what I want to do. And I'm working on my paternal side. And what you see here is a list of people, and it's again it's 40 some thousand matches, or 47,000 of these matches, and it's the first tip of the day that I have for you is it's impossible for you to go through all of these. Okay, By the time you get 1,000 done, there'll be 1,000 more added as people send in their DNA and as things change. So uh, the thing I would recommend is that you don't go in and just start hammering these. You might be interested in close relatives like your brothers and sisters, uncles and aunts, but if you've got all that nailed down in your tree, it's not going to help you to look at close relatives in this view. And as you can see here, uh, these filters that are set in my view are set to paternal only. It's the one that's highlighted. Uh, uh, there are other filters you can enact, and that's what I recommend that you do. I I recommend that you look at unviewed. That way, when you look at uh, these matches one time, it takes it off of this list and you won't end up going over the same ground again. It doesn't mean you can't find this match again. It just takes it out from under your eyes on this panel. Um, as you can see, I can turn that off and all of those matches will return. So I can come back and find them at any time. But for my purposes, and this is what I do every day, I come in, I bring up this list and I say, I only want new things I haven't seen, and I only want matches from people who have common ancestors with me. Okay, so what that means is a lot of people put in their DNA to Ancestry and they list their parents and that's it. There's no other lineage defined. So um, this particular person here uh, may not have documented a person that's common to both of us. So it really is a waste of time for me to look at people like that. I want to only see people who have common ancestors to me, and I want to look. I may want to say that I only want to I'm only interested in uh, trees that are available to me to look at. Because say some trees are private. It doesn't do any good to have a tree on Ancestry if no one else can look at it, right? So I select that as well usually. Now, here is where you control how distant the relationship is that you're interested in. You can say close matches, in other words, cousins, brothers, sisters, aunts, and uncles, or what I prefer to deal with are distant matches because I'm interested in people who are related to me by at the 4x great grandfather level or 5x or 6x, as far back as I can get. So as you can see here, there are 68,000 uh, distant matches, which is a tremendous number of matches to go through. I get it, but I'm going to show you how I wade through them and um, and how I maintain. So you got to apply it. Okay, so here's my list of 68,000 distant relative matches on Ancestry that have common ancestors that I can view that I haven't seen yet. So it's quite a subset of all my matches. So I'm going to select the first one here. I have no idea, except I know they're probably a fifth to eighth cousin, and they got 56 people in the tree. But I'm going to click on this, and it's going to give me a lot of specific information. It's going to show me a little bit about their tree. And most interesting to me is where the common ancestors are. Now, as you can see, the oldest common ancestor between me and Holly Berry is a grandfather of mine, William Clark Morrison. Now, if I click on this, it will show me for it'll show me Holly Berry's tree or her relatives that go all the way up to William Morrison. And on my side, it shows me and all my relatives up to William Morrison. So I can tell by looking at this very quickly that we are related. Holly and I are, here she is down here. Holly and I are related because my second great grandfather was her second great aunt's brother, and they both have the same father. So uh, I can very quickly realize a couple of things by looking at this. I can see that it's in my tree, and since these boxes are fully formed, I can tell that it's in her tree. It's in my tree and it's in her tree as well. So I have all these people from her tree already in my tree. This one that's got a hatched border around it is something I don't have in my tree. So apparently this person is alive still, when therefore I can't see it. It's private, but I've got everybody else in here in my tree. So very quickly I can look at this and say, I'm not interested in this because it doesn't give me, and this is important, it doesn't give me a new cousin, a new uncle or aunt, or a new grandparent. So I'm done looking at this. Um, so just to give you a little bit more information, if I were to take a look at the view lines, which I talked about before, if I take a look at the view lines on my tree on this other tab, you can see all of the descendants of my great 3x great grandfather. And here is my line. And if I go back over to this tab and look, her line was Nancy, who should be an aunt on this line. So there is Holly's line right here. So I can scroll down, and uh, I'm probably not going to find Holly in this line. As you can see, I can go way, way down. Uh, I have added these other people, and all these people are in my tree now. And like I was saying before, I've added a lot of people that in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have added because they don't really provide me any context to my tree. They just really cause me more. There are more people in my tree that I have to maintain and worry about, right? And scroll through. So as you can see, Holly Berry and her private parent are not in my tree. I mean, I can add Holly to my tree at this point, but I think it's good enough that I have Nancy, who's my second great aunt, and uh, this guy named Philip, who is, and now we're looking at my tree. Here is my tree. Here's Philip, my first cousin, who is Holly's relative, is here in my tree. I've got him marked as DNA, and it's as far as I want to go on this particular match. Now, when I go back to where I came from, I could take a look at the other side of the couple, and at this point, I know that these two people are married and that there were no other marriages. So I don't have any half cousins or anything in this family. So quickly, I can tell that she's not a half cousin. I can tell that I'm done with Holly, and I don't need to look at Holly anymore. So I'm going to go back. I'm coming back to the DNA matches page. And as you can see, Holly was at the top and now she's gone. So now Virginia is the next DNA match that I'm going to look at. I'm going to just quickly look in here and see who the common ancestor was. Well, it's Seth Thompson. I'm going to quickly go over to Seth, take a look at Seth. And again, it's the same situation. Here's my grandmother. Here's her sister. And I have all of these people from Virginia Story in my tree. Nothing new. I'm going to step to the next match. Back, back. Virginia Story is not interesting. And this is the kind of thing I do every day as I go through looking for, and I won't be lucky enough to find and show you what I'm actually looking for. But what I would be looking for is a new uncle or aunt or a new first cousin. And if I find one of those, then I will add those people to my tree from this view. So I hope this is interesting. I'm going to produce some more videos about the techniques that I use and the data that I keep and those sorts of things. But this video was about the techniques I use to go through my DNA matches and to determine what to add to my tree on a daily basis. And I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Rick Williams. I'm in Dallas, Texas. Hope you enjoyed the video.